Oh, hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Good morning, Chris. It's going well. How's everything with you today?
Oh, we are crushing it. Crushing it. We're up and running. Oh, we even wore the same shirts today. Holy cow.
Wow, it's amazing. I wonder how that worked out.
Impressive. Wow.
Wow, it's like it's coordinated or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, the rest of the stream, nah, it's it's our usual, like, hey, let's kind of see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. Today you're in luck. We're gonna be doing the thing you all seem to love so much, which is a live demo, and we're gonna like fumble our way through this and achieve successes and
Hopefully something.
failures right before your eyes. So,
Exactly. We'll do it live.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, happy
Uh,
Friday, Oscar. Does anyone have good plans for the weekend? Anyone at all?
I don't. I think it's just going to be a normal weekend for me. There's still the good football games are going to be on, right? We're into the you could call it the Final Four, right?
Okay.
The championship games. I don't know if you're big into football or not.
I'm not into the sports ball, but someday
The sports
maybe.
ball. Yeah, yeah. I like watching the football. I kind of have a weird thing where I'll sit in this room and have it on in the TV behind me and do a little bit of work and then turn and watch the game if it gets exciting or if it gets boring. I got something else to fill the time. So,
Oh, that's fantastic. D- Donald's heading
yep.
to Omaha on the train, I presume, and he's supporting the Lions. So I don't know if that's
The Lions
are
is
the
is
Lions from the Omaha,
no,
or
they
are
are
the
actually from Detroit, and they
okay?
are having a great year. This is, one of the they haven't made it this far for boy, I want to say 50s or 60s, something like that.
Oh my, okay.
So yeah, it's now me. I think I want to join Oscar. He's going to be having some bourbon celebrating his father's birthday. Um, Oh, and with the Niners winning, he's already predicting the Niners is the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers, who are playing and they're a number one seed. So, Oscar, let us know what bourbons you like. I actually been starting to drink a Irish whiskey called what is it, Triple Dog, I think, or something like that. So,
Yeah, triple dog.
He's got Angel's Envy. That's one of my favorites on there, and especially if you get it from the port. But we're not here to talk about. I'll talk about whiskey all night with Oscar. Well, Oscar, you and I will get together.
Uh, uh, uh,
Chris,
I,
Chris,
I,
bail us
I,
out.
I gotta say, I am all about Buffalo Trace. I am.
Oh yeah,
It is my favorite. It's not so expensive yet. It's really good, and well, this is not a promotion. Like this is not a paid sponsorship, unless Buffalo Trace. Hey, if you want this to be a
if you're
paid
watching,
sponsorship, you reach out and let us know. We would be happy to be sponsored by Buffalo Trace.
and we take liquid currency.
Yeah. All right, all right, okay, cool. But we are not here to talk about whiskey, although maybe we should be here to talk about whiskey because we are all about, um, getting into Tabular Editor. And oh, look at this! I didn't know this. They've got a great distillery tour. Sorry,
Oh
I got
yeah, yeah. A
distracted
lot of
there.
lot
Yeah.
of them do. So yeah, I've toured wineries, I've toured breweries. I did. We have a local. When I used to like it, somebody else bought them out, but I did tour a distillery down here. So yeah, let's. You know, Christina is inviting us to come do a Friday live stream from her place, and
Oh my gosh,
then she's
she's
4 miles
right by there.
from there. Yeah, yeah.
Holy cow!
So
All right, so like we
yeah,
have
we got a we got
connection
a we got a
now.
place to stay. You could stay on one couch, I'll be on the other, and
Oh, that's
her new husband
fantastic.
will love this plan.
Yeah,
So,
road trip. All right, so we are going to be talking about Tabular Editor today. Um, uh, so let's dive into it. Before we do, quick some like housekeeping. We're going to start doing this on a regular basis. So if we don't do the question of the day, please let us know. But we want to know Do you understand what the heck an XMLA endpoint is? Is that something that you're using? If so, leave it in the comment. Let us know how you think of it. Would love to understand that. But as we go and as we talk about these things, we got two rules. Rule number one, please prefix any question. Preface? No, I got it right. Prefix any question with a Q
Put
colon.
your best face forward first with a Q.
Yeah. And don't spam or repeat any questions that will get you blocked or spammed. With that said, also don't forget on Wednesdays, Christina and I are going to be doing our lunch and learns like we do every Wednesday. This upcoming Wednesday, we're going to be meeting with Bogdan, and we're going to be talking about fabric capacity management. How the heck do you work with that admin app? What the heck does it do? How do you look at it? I mean, frankly, for anyone working at Power BI, if you're like this, if you're an admin, it's a big deal. But even if you're working with like data sets, you have to understand what's performing or not. It's going to be a good one to tune into. Okay. Now, with that said, I didn't flip the screen over. We are going to be delving into Tabular Editor. And to do that, we're going to be leveraging a data model that I have out on my website. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to place this into the chat so you guys can download and follow along if you want or not want. That's all up to you. That's perfectly fine. But it's the Data God model data set. It is right here. When you open it up, be aware it has it's the standard data set. I've been evolving over the like 7 years or so. So it's got like all sorts of best practices, tips, tricks, items in there. One of those is a direct query, like how to do direct queries to a data mart or a SQL database. So you will get an error just like, okay, through that, it's not going to connect. That piece is not going to work for you unless you do the data mart here thing. But you don't have to worry about that for today. You can still download it. You can open it up in Power BI to get up and running. And then we're going to be using that to delve into Tabular Editor. So I
I,
prefix with that.
I got a question for you on
Shoot.
that data set, right? So you
Hmm.
have some best practices, you have all kinds of interesting things. How many DAX columns do you have?
Zero. There are no DAX columns. I got a stinger on that one someplace. I took off my. Okay, well, there are no DEX columns. And if you want to get in on supporting the no DEX column movement, you can get your own DEX column t-shirt right at the link here. It is definitively over. Oh, actually, this is DEX. No DEX columns is better than DAX columns. So that is from Enterprise AR. They said that this is for the people who aren't going to go as hardcore or as radical as the no DEX columns if you want to support that side. But if you want to do no DEX columns, you can get this t-shirt as well. So both sides of the argument are available for you to participate in. Awesome. But so like housekeeping. Okay, so we want to use this. This data set's out there. You can check that out. But let's talk about what you're going to want to have. Um, there's no Dex columns, only Zool.
Only Zool.
A good Ghostbuster reference. All right, so let's talk. This is the data set we're going to use. We're going to talk about briefly what the heck is Tabular Editor so we can understand what it is. Okay. So Power BI Desktop, awesome tool to get in and start building out tabular models. You can do a ton of stuff inside of uh, the 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 Power BI desktop solution that makes it really easy to get in and work with it. Right? Very awesome, excellent place to get there. Um, Kevin, why would you describe someone should add in Tabular Editor for working with models?
Well, and the last thing, sorry, cough there, but the last thing that you said right there is one of the key points, right? Is we're working with the model side only,
Mm-hmm.
right? So desktop has, in my mind, I break desktop into like three different tools in one, right? Your Swiss Army knife. You got your Power Query part of it, right? The transform data and everything. That's kind of a tool. Defining the model, that's another tool, and then doing the actual report visualizations, it's another tool, all packaged into one thing. So when we're looking at Tabular Editor, we're only focused on the data model itself, right? That second part, which in one of my opinions, that is the most critical part of of the whole solution that you're putting together. The ETL is very critical too because it's going to line you up to set your data model up correctly. But defining your relationships, producing your measures, hiding the right fields, getting your sorts correct, and everything. All of those are things you need to be doing in what's in the model part of it. Tabular Editor makes this. I don't even know what the number, right? 3x, 4x faster. um, Boy, where were we? I think maybe it was last week. Maybe it was Guy on the Cube live stream or something. Somebody made a comment about they have a model for whatever reason. They have 500 measures, right? And they say, I go ahead and try to produce another measure, and it's slow. It takes forever. Question why they have 500 measures, but okay, fine, you do. With Tabular Editor, when you're doing your model changes, it's making all of those changes, but it's not applying it to the back end yet until you click the button to apply it. Where desktop itself, every change you make, you hit enter, you hit tab or whatever, it puts it onto there's like this SSAS service that's running, right? Where the actual model and everything is instantiated and it's applying it to there. And when it does that, it's kind of validating every single measure at that point. And Marco, I think, brought it up in the chat of Guy in the Cube. Says, go to Tabular Editor because it's validating all 500 or looking through it real, as quick as it can. Tabular Editor speeds you up because it's not doing that. I think it has a better interface. Maybe it's because I'm used to it. When I first started, the first tool that I ever had available to me to produce models was Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code, but Visual Studio. And I would strongly urge nobody to use Visual Studio. Um, but that's what we had when we were just doing models that went against either an on-prem SSAS to Azure Analysis AS, and then eventually to Power BI. Or we could use it in Power BI desktop, easily replace that. So that's where I see Tabular Editor coming in. I'd like to hear from the chat. What experience do you have? Is it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times faster for you guys that use either version of Tabular Editor? So
Yeah, and Nate's calling out there's DAX IntelliSense scripting, DAX formatting, and Nair. I don't know what Nair is, but um, we'll get and more. Yes.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Boy, the scripting to me is just amazing. Yeah, formatting. Uh, yeah, Alex from It's Not About
yep,
Ourselves says 10 times for
yeah,
I could see 10 times, especially for DAX development. I think um, the new tab for the Power Query or for the DAX query inside Tabular Editor is going to let people develop DAX a little bit differently if they want to stay in the tool. But I still find myself just out of habit. I break out over into TE3, even for
yep,
a very small change. It just, I don't know. I'm just so much more comfortable with it. So, oh, the debugger, Nate,
yep,
you hit on a big one. I don't think I use that one enough. I think the debugger's, quite a bit of an advanced topic. Um, I love looking at it. I like trying to see what it's telling me that's going on. But sometimes I do kind of get lost in all of the information it's giving me too. So I need to just practice with it more. I wonder if that's in the course. I know we're going to bring up the course a little bit later, but
yep, yeah. We'll head over there and let's because I do want to get into like some other more detailed stuff, and I think we're starting to hit like why, so that's good. Like we set up like, hey, if you're out there, like, should you even bother downloading it? Yes. So tons of abilities here. We're talking about going from like old school development to pro code development. It really is quite impressive. There's kind of 3 tiers of licensing that's out there. There's desktop, business, enterprise. So this is something you pay. pay for. Uh, Honestly, I think most people are going to fall into like you need to get an enterprise license if you're doing this stuff at
Hmm.
scale. And really, the debate is: are you doing an enterprise license for like 5 to 10 developers, or are you going for more than that? And you should be getting a company wide uh, uh, installment. So I think that's the threshold. Is I would say is like at 10, I'd start to have that conversation with the Tabular Editor team about this. Now, you can if you're in a small business, and that's perfectly fine too. Like this business user might be sufficient for you. Please note this is only good for PPU or the standard
Hmm.
SSAS or basic tier AS. So if you go any bigger, you're going to the enterprise based solution.
Right.
um
And those last two that you brought up, right, are the different deployment models. Mostly we focus on Fabric slash Power BI, but if you're deploying on-prem, right,
yeah.
that's the SSAS on-prem that it's talking about. Or if you're using the Azure Analysis Services, you have different tier levels that you could buy, and basic is the only one that you're able to use that on. So
Yeah.
it's useful, but I'm with you. I think most people will find it um, that you jump up to the enterprise, and you know, I pay for the enterprise for myself. I find it well worth it for the work I do with my different clients and everything. It
Mhm.
helps me get things done faster and focus on their true need rather than things like that. So I see
Yep,
we have a question from Sergio.
that's right. Sergio's asking, can TE connect to a Power BI service model? That answer is
Definitely, yes. And I think he had a question earlier about please enlighten us, and I think it was for the question of the day, right? With the XMLA endpoint,
oh,
and
all
maybe we
right.
need to go back. So the XMLA endpoint is what you would use to connect to the Power BI service. And
Yep.
so you're going to do that. Now, can we do that in Tabular Editor 2? Is
Yes.
I
Yes, we
use
can.
3 so much, but I always
And
forget what
we'll
2
we'll
can
be
do.
getting into it. We'll actually show that how we can leverage Tabular 2. We'll start with Tabular 2 so you can see that interface, you can understand it, but
Mhm.
we'll get into that in just a second. I do want to call out Data Blender is less than thrilled that you need the enterprise for the fabric capacities. That is, unfortunately, that is true. It's also why I say most people should be thinking about this level or higher. Um, I would I would encourage people though to continue to provide them feedback about this fabric capacity. I think there's going to be a lot more adoption at the small business layer of fabric before there's a lot of enterprise adoption. I'm just stepping out on a limb and putting out a theory there. So I think that that would be something I would encourage the TE people uh,
Yeah,
to reflect on.
that is kind of an interesting point that I'm kind of noodling over now. Because if you think about maybe what is the cost ratio between an F2, let's say somebody really, you're just trying to get started, and the recommendation is if you get started, let's start with an F2.
Hmm.
And so your cost ratio between that, I don't know, 262 a month plus 35 a month, right? If you just, depending on how many developers, it's going to be 35 times the number of developers. But yeah, I don't know. It still sounds worth it to me. But when
This is
if we run
interesting.
into them at any of these things coming up, we'll try to bring that up.
Yeah, and Cody has asked, like, hey, can you buy one license and use it at multiple customers? Apparently, it's tied to your Active Directory, so I didn't actually know that. So good.
No, I use mine across multiple customers.
I do as well because it just asks for like your install key. I put it on
Right.
my VM that I get, and then I install it, and then I'm good to go. So,
Right. Now, where the challenge would come in what you just kind of brought up, is what machine or machines are you using for the multiple customers? So, if you're set up with a customer that the way you kind of implied it there, Chris, is every customer gives you a VM, so you're going into their environment, and working off of something that is very secure within there, you could only install your license on 2 machines,
Oh,
right? So you're gonna be limited at that point. You're gonna have to take it off. Yeah, Data Blender put the same thing. Two installs per license on the same account. So then you could uninstall it, right? And so you can move it between clients by doing that. Now, I tend to work with a lot of smaller clients that, for whatever you want to say, good or bad, they don't care that I work off of my own equipment.
right.
And so, and I've seen this on a lot of other consultants talk about it too, where I use either Edge or Firefox, have containers, and I try to, separate each client on how I log in. But when I'm working on a desktop model or even off of their XMLA endpoint, I could use Tabular Editor off of my machine with just the one license and
Yeah.
support multiple clients. So, is that an it depends answer then?
No, I think that's exact. This is how it works and how you can use it,
Hmm.
right? So no depends in there. Just this is how it works.
Right.
I did a little video. In fact, it wasn't a little video. I thought it was going to be a little video, and then it just like okay, let's start recording. And I think I've got automation set up. Most of my recording is all done without I can't doing the editing and stuff. So I thought I'll run through one of these courses, tape it, get people started. So I did that course one module one was like 40 minutes of recording, so go check it out. You'll see that if you're at all questioning should you go through and take the tabular error trainings, no, you 100% should. They're super in-depth. They cover all the questions that you have about how you work with tabular editor. Come out here and check this out. They're very uh, this course is very good, and it is generic, at least so far, to Tabular Editor 2. They haven't really touched on anything that was specific to TE3. But yeah, it's good, and Nate Herring is saying it's fun too. So yeah, I enjoyed it. So um, do check this out. If you have not yet purchased it, and I totally understand that maybe you haven't, and you want to just get started with Tabular Editor 2, you can go and you can get it from the guys over at SQL BI. They've got a link out here to the GitHub repo where TE2 is managed. I would imagine there's a better place to get it, but this is where I've gone for like I don't know however long this thing has been out. So do check this out, okay? Um, but once and the training is free. Yes, James, this training is free. There's no cost to it, so you could just go ahead and get started on it. Once you get through all of it, you actually get a certificate in there's a certificate exam that you can take, and then you can actually get you can be certified in tabular editor. So I haven't seen anyone get that yet because it's quite intensive. So um yeah, it's cool. uh
Yeah, so I kinda just got distracted because, oh, okay, the Docs Tabular Editor onboarding. Okay, and then here is the official. I know you could get it from what you were talking about in from SQL BI, but here's the TE2 Docs page,
oh
and then it has, and this comes right off from the tabulareditor.com site. So then this talks about your installation, your prereqs. I'm looking at my screen and not sharing. So yeah, but I put the link out there. Y'all got there quickly, right?
like what's Kevin talking about? But
Like,
all
what are you
right,
doing?
yeah, all right. So like I think we set the stage. We've done a good job here. Um, let's show how we would start to use Tabular Editor, because I know some people use this quite a bit, and maybe you jump right into Tabular Editor. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that I use when it comes to working with Tabular Editor and managing large models or testing out new functionality when it first gets introduced or we start to see it arrive. Okay. So, for example, once you have Tabular Editor 2 or 3 installed, when you open a Power BI desktop under external tools, you're going to see that it's right up here, and you can see that you got your tools here. Can I do that? Control 4. Nope. We just learned so there's something to be aware of inside of Zoom It. This is a little bit of training on Zoom It. If you do Control 4, you can zoom and interact with your Zoom. This is brand new for me. I've never seen that before. So it's just Control 4 in and Control 4 out. So huge win there.
Yeah, we almost rebranded the whole live stream because of that this morning. So
Yeah, where it's revolutionary.
if you guys want us to do like another live stream on Zoom It, let us know.
All right. So when you launch your tabular editor from within desktop, what's going to happen is tabular editor is going to open up and it's going to be connected to the model that is in that you're connected to inside your data set. So I'm connected right to this. Okay. And it makes it, and oh yeah, hey, there's Adam. Yeah, Zoom It is fantastic. But now I can go in and I can take advantage of everything inside of Tabular Editor to help me manage my Power BI model, right? And so this is where like the free version is great to get you up and running. Oh, R, G, Y, and Z. All right. I gotta take a note on this. Where'd my thing go? Someone cap that. I've got to make sure we don't forget that. I don't know what that is, but we'll test that out in a bit. But now I can start to work inside my model. And this is where there's a number of different features inside here that I'm going to first start to call out that I really like to do. Well, number one, I like to make sure that I don't have 1,000 date dimensions, right? So that's the first thing I do, especially if I'm looking at a new model. If I see 1,000 date dimensions here, it's going to tell me that I've got auto date time on, and I got to turn that stuff off and delete these out of the model to reduce my model size. The next big thing that we have here is we've got, and I'm going to focus in on Control 4. I'm going to focus in on a fact table because I think the fact table is the best way to actually see how you should be organizing uh your measures and your columns. Okay. Oh my gosh, I didn't do that. What happened here?
Sorry, I got distracted by Adam's thing, so I missed what you were doing.
What happened? I went to show my folders and all the objects in there.
Didn't
Oh,
show?
and there's nothing in there. What the heck is going on? Love doing it live, right?
That's our style here. So, this is
Well, we got fields in there. Okay, well, why the heck is this going on? I don't know why the heck it's doing that. Factor net sales. Yeah, it's right here. I've got measures. Oh my gosh, I know what the issue is.
you had one of the buttons turned off.
You have to unhide hidden. So show hidden content. There we go. Thank you, Data
That's
Blender.
actually a nice feature, right? Is you could tell it what you want to see and not see at the top, right? So that if you're focused on one part of it, only the measures or something like that.
Yep.
I don't use it often, but I do use it at some times where I really just kind of no, I need to just focus in on these things. So
Yeah, but where did my measure folder go? I don't know. This is weird. All right, I still have some more weird oddness going on here, but first things first, I go through and I start to hide all of my fields, or group all of my fields inside of folders. Inside of Tabular Editor, that becomes really easy to do. En masse, dragging things around is very easy to do, and you just shift click all the items and you can drag them into new folders or Control Z, move them back. The ability to move things around here is incredibly easy to do. It's very difficult to do any other way. Okay. So that is one of the first things that I like to do is make sure that I've got my all of my fields organized. And I kind of like to have 4 basic folders that I have inside of my models. One, it's where are my IDs, and the IDs are going to be your relational keys, so you can organize that inside your fact table so they're all kind of grouped together. Two, it's going to be your base fields or so that you can like basically have your base attributes all stuck together. And then I like to always have the base measures, which is what you don't want people to necessarily be working with, and then a separate folder for measures. Really simple, organizes everything into four subsets of content, so you don't have these like huge long tables that takes an impossible time to scroll through, right? Um, maybe that I don't know. I don't know where I'm not seeing some of the stuff here, but I've been. Oh, there it is. No, it's not there. So that's the first thing I like to do. Um, Next thing I'm a big fan of in Tabular Editor, and I always like to showcase this off, and it is the macro functionality. All right. So what the macro functionality allows you to do is call out, um, basically script in different capabilities inside of your model. So this is a big one out there. I'm going to zoom in on this one. What this guy does is it updates my BPA rules so that I could always have the latest version of BPA rules up and running on it. Now, hey Alex, there's a guy in the cube video Patrick did. I think it was like 2.5 years ago now. On this, if you can grab that, that'd be great. Or Kevin can. I watch that video every time I need to figure out how to do this. So I can't do it as good as Patrick. So just go watch his video. But once I've got this in place, I can run this every few months or so, and know that I've updated the best practice analyzer rules to be able to evaluate my model. All right. Now, uh, why do I like that? Because I can just click on that, and I can get a screenshot of all of the things that are kind of like wonky inside of my model, and we'll kind of like zoom in on this stuff. And so I could see all of these columns that need to be like reset and redone. Makes it really easy for me to like go in and optimize my model. Now, I will say, uh, when I was not a consultant, I love this because we used to hire consultants who would spend 3 to 6 plus months running through and evaluating and doing all of this work. And now this is something that like you could just go ahead and and do this yourselves. So um, this is just a super big time saver. It is good, and we're not going to delve too deep into this because I want to talk about some other things. It's good to understand what and why these things are important for why you would want to like make these optimizations, right? Um, so we'll just talk about the first one. Kevin, how would you explain the do not use floating point data types?
Yeah. Well, I would explain it and then also look at Fabric that the delta tables love these big data types. But the floating point data types, when the math is occurring in the background, could give you just a little bit different results sometimes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the best practice is to change it into a proper like decimal data type, so that you do not get these floating point little. I'm not going to say the numbers are wrong. It's just sometimes they seem to change a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so they take up more memory and everything else. So that's one of the reasons for that being inside the best practice analyzer. Adam did put some links, and he's putting a couple more into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of the article that comes out. It's actually there's a Microsoft article, and then there's a GitHub that has the rules in it. You could customize your rules as well,
Yep.
right? So if you know for whatever reason that you're bringing in these floating point numbers, right? You could take that rule out of your own version or a version you save within your teams, and but so this way you lessen a lot of the noise. So, but that's what else do we have on your best practice, right? So we talked about floating point.
Well, and just to, I don't want to go too deep into that because we could spend a whole session on that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to say these are the base best practices, right? Everything else falls into that common it depends bucket where we all put a dollar in the jug.
Hmm.
you do not have to necessarily agree that everything depends. All right. Um, and that's where having the ability to customize these rules, add your own rules to that, or ignore the rules that are out there is really important. This becomes increasingly important when you're talking about larger and larger enterprise data sets
Mhm.
or more broadly shared data sets that's consumed by more and more people. Yeah, I've got $1 here. Actually, I haven't done it.
He's
I only
playing
have
my role on
10,
Saturday
so
by
yeah.
tracking it today. I love it. Um, yeah, and I think the more you run it and look at your different models, right, the more you're going to understand which rules really apply to you. I tend to focus
Yep.
in a lot on the performance ones. Like I said, sometimes I will just ignore that, the floating point one. But things that are important for if you're going to have a model that others are going to do development on, there's a rule in there that talks about things that don't have a description, right? And you want to have those descriptions. The turning off available in what is it? The produce that what is it? The MDX hierarchy or something like that, which is a big performance and size type of thing. So, get in there, start messing with the ones, see which ones are good for you, and change it if you want. So.
Yeah, and kind of to build on that, it's entirely possible that while that MDX is something that is expensive, you may be working in an organization that heavily utilizes those capabilities. So you want to enable that so that the people who are building out those crazy Excel integrations who need that MDX integration can still have that integration. All right.
Mhm.
So again, at a macro level, at a global level, we say it depends. But for you and inside your organization, do feel free to come up with your own best practices and establish those as these are the patterns that we follow, so that the people inside your organization know how to interact and work with data. Okay.
So while we're here, well,
Oh,
before I got you just right to that. A lot of these rules, if you click on them or right click on them, it will either generate a script or actually be able to apply it. So, like, find the one about turning on, or see if I could see which ones you have there.
performance.
Do you have the ones where the MDX? Yeah, there's one. It says apply fix right there, right? So it's
Yep.
gonna produce the fix for you,
So
or you
a
could tell it to
note.
generate a script.
Yeah, you can generate a script, a fixed script. You can apply the fix en masse,
Hmm.
or you can go in and apply the fix at an individual item level. Okay. Now, uh, um,
Adam was gonna match us, and it's sold out.
yeah,
Oh,
I
wah,
know.
wah.
Yeah.
So
um,
that when you're getting started, right? Do the generate first. Generate it, look at what it's doing so you have an understanding, right? Instead of just blindly trusting. And then once you kind of get used to it, then go ahead and apply. Like if you know this is one I've looked at, I see what it's going to change. You have that experience behind you now, then apply it. But don't just trust a tool just to trust it, right? Know a little bit of what's going on. So I see you have it generated now.
hmm, interesting. Look at what I'll do to it. I could just run this here,
Hmm.
right? And now,
But what this is going to do is apply a change where it's taking all those columns that are floating point
yep,
and change them to be the data type of decimal, I think it said when you were scrolling.
yep,
So, yeah, you may or may not really want that. Now, here's the other thing to be aware of is within Power BI Desktop, which probably the majority of people are going to work with, there are different sets of limitations than if you're using the XMLA endpoint.
yep.
And then once you make that change using an XMLA endpoint, then um, it's no longer going to allow you to do that. Now, I believe, and because I think I've tried this because here's I'm going to give an example. I tried to do something a while ago where I was changing. Um, I had a SQL database that had the definitions already for tables and columns, and I wanted to import that into my semantic model. And there's scripts that'll help you do that, but the table name descriptions wouldn't stick within a PBIX,
Hmm.
and that was a known limitation. Now, if you convert to the new PBIP, right, the project level, because it's maintaining the BIM file, some of those restrictions are going to, or are not as enforced. So you could do some of these type of things, but there still may be other restrictions. So always go back, look at the Microsoft documentation that talks about what the changes are and things like that. But just be very careful with it.
Oh, Christina's bringing up a new feature. This is new. Models that were created in the service, if you ever touch the with an XMLA endpoint, that was hosed. You were forever going to have to touch it with Tabular Editor 2. You just now you manage it with Tabular Editor 2. Apparently, that's no longer the case. So that is a fantastic new feature. Thanks for calling that out, Christina. That is awesome. Um, So yeah, another big script that I really like, and this one, this does not come into play today, but this is something that I'm gonna wager is coming along really closely, is that the descriptions of our fields will be editable or readable by Copilot. I know nothing about this, but like I don't know every backdoor room information about this, but I think that's going to be the next natural place that we're going to be using Copilot to look for business information is the descriptions that's on our semantic models. You say to yourself, how do I get those descriptions in? Those are super much those are a big pain in the butt. Well, Michael Kovlowski, who I think Adam, or I saw a link out to Elegant EI or BI, has got a great script out there for us about. Uh, I don't know if or it's this great script that allows you to export all of the tables, fields, and measures into an Excel file that you can then put business descriptions on. Okay. And so basically you just define where you're going to be storing this file. So I store mine on my desktop. I can run this, export the value out. Gosh dang it. Export the value out, and then I can go ahead and I can actually go in and open that file. Oh, I didn't prepare for that.
We'll do it live.
Right. User. Where am I? Desktop. Oh, I put it on my desktop. Dumbass. Holy crap. Well, no, F script. But it's an Excel file. You can update it then. And then you go back in, and there's another script for importing those same definitions that you can go in and just re-import them in. Why is this helpful? Well, if you want to, if you want to understand what the heck is going on, or have someone create these definitions for you, maybe that's not you. You have someone else that creates those definitions. Then you're up and running, and you're good to go. All right, you can have them do that, then they can import that in. So I love that
So
one.
yeah, and Adam put a blog post from Michael, Elegant BI,
Hmm.
talking about the best way to manage descriptions.
Yep,
So
and
if you
it's
wanted more information on that.
yeah, it's this is fantastic. You hand it over to a business analyst, they run around, they create the definitions for you, and you're good to
Hmm.
go. I absolutely love this. Okay, and then the reason I wanted to showcase this with this model is because one of the things that I didn't know how to do at one point in time was I didn't know how to create an incremental load, right? And so like defining that or defining I wasn't sure about that, so I went and watched some videos. I went to Guy and Cube Video, and I watched how you'd go in and you'd launch your model. And let's see. I really do have it on here, but I think it's on my internet sales table. I think I put that on.
For incremental refresh, right?
Yep. Yeah, here it is. All right. So actually, we're going to do this on my aggregate table with my direct query table too. So I might have a problem on this one to open it up.
Well, if it's direct query, it's not really incremental load, right?
Well, so this is where I also learned aggregates, right?
Yes.
So I needed to create an aggregate that had an incremental load that was used with the direct query and worked appropriately. Now I don't have this server currently available, so it's a little bit of a wonky thing. But I was able to go through, uh, make the settings as instructed inside of the videos I was watching, and I sat and watched Patrick or create each of these items, go through and set up this filter context, made sure that this was working right. But then I was able to easily head over to Tabular Editor and find that same fact table. Where are you? And I could go in and I could look at how my definitions were created. So I could see how we actually created, oopsies, control 4, that's it. I could go in and look at this table and understand how these got set up. Where is am I in the wrong place? Oh, where am I? What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Here, I could go in and I could actually see where this is, and I could define how I want my oh my gosh, my incremental refresh to be defined, right? And oh, I haven't deployed this out to the service, so I haven't defined this yet. But I could then deploy this out to the service, configure my incremental refresh, and then I could connect out to that model using the XMLA endpoint, and then see how that needs to get set up and configured inside of Tabular Editor. So I could do this over and over again with other models. What that allowed me to do was I could do a small sample model that had very little data on it, and then uh, apply that same formatting and code to my enterprise model, right? So I didn't have to work with a big data set. I was able to just go in and learn. And yes, hashtag I watched Patrick. Oh my gosh, that's a t-shirt. We gotta get that together, Kevin.
Oh, that would be a good one. That's kind of a tease from if anybody watching this doesn't watch GynaCube on
Yeah.
the live stream on Saturdays, we have such a good time on there, and
Yep.
we're always throwing that in their stuff. So that's why Adam was laughing at him. But
Yep.
I think course 8 back on the Tabular Editor training is going to talk to you about managing incremental refreshes, setting up and everything. Power BI gives you a great setup for it, probably the use case that's used the most. But if you have other custom use cases or whatever, you want to do some type of custom partitioning, this course is going to get into that, right? And of course, you're not going to use the default of how Power BI just handles it when it's scheduled and things like that. You sometimes get into other scripts that you have to run in order to manage those custom partitions. But if you have something that is extremely, unique and you have to do it, take this course, learn the details. Let's expand the details on this, right? Um, yeah, not much more information on these details, but there are use cases for different custom partitions. So.
Yeah. Yes. And again, you could configure it inside of the Power BI desktop, see how that's set up, and then just
Mhm.
pop into Tabular Editor and then use that as your guide to connect it to. In fact, I think I can even uh I've opened it twice. All right, well, I'm gonna
And a
actually
lot of times when you're doing, like, since we brought up custom partitions, you may just be using if you're doing custom partitions, you're going to be PPU or above, right?
Yep.
PPU or a capacity. And that's a lot of the times that you're going to use just the standard or going to use the XMLA endpoint. And now you're really kind of disconnected from desktop itself. In my user group where this subject came up, I appreciate somebody in my user group said, "Hey, can you go in the Tabular Editor a little bit more?" And um, we started talking about you know getting models out into the service, and I made a comment that sometimes I have things on the service I don't have a report for, and they're like, "Oh, well, how do you do that? We always got to delete it or whatever." You can start a model brand new from Tabular Editor, publish it out there, right? And then maintain it through just, the BIM file that you're seeing when you use the Power BI, the PBIP now, right? That's always been available. And if you're using the XMLA endpoint, you could just start with it there and never have to have a report with it. You're going to have a little bit different, um, source control setup with it and everything. So you're getting into a lot more of the pro development. But if you need to do it, use it. It's a great way to do things. So, do you see James' comment about? Let me show it here. Read it. That he can confirm handling incremental refresh in TE is awesome, right? Um, when you get into the polling expressions, you kind of get into some custom things, right? That's what he's talking about there. So,
Yeah, I was trying to pull up. I connected out to a model that was. So the question was, can we connect out to a model on the service? And the answer is yes. You can go
right.
ahead and you can connect out to it. It's relatively easy connecting here. Allows you to choose what data set you want to connect to, and then choose the
Mm-hmm.
one that you're connected to. And I love it because you can see all sorts of additional information about the compatibility level of your model. Oh, and we can control our compatibility level. How I know
Mm-hmm.
I can't find what I'm looking for is this model isn't the right level of compatibility. You have to be at like a
Oh yeah, it's
1686 or something like that for the incremental or the aggregate incremental that I was looking for. So,
yeah,
um,
that's always a unique thing of knowing when to update that model, right? Because Power BI Desktop just takes care of it for you. So you are getting a lot deeper into the weeds on everything and having to understand all of these different little attributes that exist around the model, right? So it takes time to learn. So don't be frustrated if you go, I didn't know that or whatever, right? It's just like anything else. Take the time, learn it, understand what's going on, why you have to do that. A lot of the articles that come out from Microsoft that talks about new features will tell you, right? It's a 4-digit number, 16 something. I don't think we're up in higher than into the 17s yet. I haven't looked, but then you could go into your model properties and update it to that and see what always do it in test. Make sure that things are not breaking anything else. But yeah, to get deeper and deeper into this. So,
where did my
and I
data
think now
flows go? Hang on a second here. Where did data flows go?
in my screen's a little small. Oh, things stopped for me for some reason. Um, are they under?
Oh my, is it just
There's
here? It used to be in my. Well, no. Boy, we've really.
squirrel.
How far have we
We're
fallen that like now all of a sudden we're.
we're 25 after anyway, so
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
it's a
yeah.
good
What am I
squirrel
doing?
moment.
So yeah, 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 yeah. Control F. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
next week's episode will be finding the data flow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So someone asked me, can I add a data flow into a data set and manage a tabular editor? Yes. How do I do that? I add it to a model in Power BI, and then I
Hmm.
open that in Tabular Editor, and copy and paste that into an existing model, and you're off and running. So that will do everything for you. But we are near the end, and I got a hard stop. I have to be out of here, but I have an 8:30 meeting. So thank you all for joining us, Kevin. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. You did all the heavy lifting today, so that was great.
Well,
And
and
thanks. I think we had a great chat. Thanks everybody for bringing up questions and advice, and links in there and everything. It's great, great time. Hope everybody has a good weekend.
Yeah, you guys all have a great day, and hit us up on LinkedIn or on Twitter if you have other questions or comments, or you have other tips around Tabular Editor. Love to get more people on that and using it, because I
For
did a survey of, are you using Tabular Editor, or do you know what Tabular Editor is? It's like 96% people didn't even know what it was. So,
wow.
like, we got a lot of education that needs to be done here, because it is the tool we need people using. So,
And remember, one of the goals for the year is you need to be sending us questions. So hit
yep.
us hit us up on the social media, send us a question. This came today because of a user group I was in yesterday.
Hmm.
So, we try to put things together as quick as we can, and let us know. This is all for you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Peace.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.